And good evening, everyone. Welcome to episode 14 of the Washington Wrestle Talk. This is the live Raw recap show. I don't know how live it's going to be because I really don't know how many people are going to listen to this. I do have to apologize for not posting an episode yesterday. I had a little bit of a late start yesterday, not getting out of bed until almost 2 o'clock in the afternoon, after a night with my family, good times. It's always good to see my family, always good to spend time with him. Just as a reminder, next week, hopefully, I will have my first interview for the podcast here, if things go well. She's been, having some difficulties as of late. But I'll just leave it at that. She's still a very sweet woman. She's a good friend, even though we have never met. But I just want her to know that I just want Sugar to know that, hey, if you need anything, I'm always here for you, because that's what friends do, regardless if you've ever met them or not. So tonight's Monday Night Raw. I didn't really get to see the first 10 minutes of it, but from what I gather, it was Roman Reigns in the ring with Seth Rollins, wanting to reform the Shield. That can be a good thing because it's getting to be a nostalgia act. I don't know where they're going to go with this. There's the rumors. Well, it's not so much a rumor that Dean Ambrose has not re-signed his new contract. It could be an entire, a complete work, meaning it could be like another CM Punk situation in 2014 where Punk literally signed his contract the day of the Money in the Bank pay-per-view where he won the WWE title from John Cena. So we'll see how that plays out. But they played it up as Ambrose was conflicted, and at the end of the night, we saw the Shield reform with Ambrose, Rollins, and Reigns. In fact, going into Fastlane this Sunday, they will be facing Bobby Lashley, Baron Corbin, and Drew McIntyre. Speaking of McIntyre, Lashley, and Corbin, they were in action tonight against Kurt Angle, Finn Balor, and Braun Strowman. They did a spot where Strowman was, I believe, he was doing his, his train run that he does. I mean, if you've never seen this guy do this, it's just amazing at how fast a guy this large, can run this fast. He's 6'8", 385 pounds, and he just sprints like a 100-meter Olympian would. And they did the spot where he was going for Lashley. Instead, he got Leo Rush and literally crushed Leo Rush against the barricade by the timekeeper, which was rigged to break, but it just looked really, really nasty and really cool. That was probably the spot of the night. Corbin and McIntyre and Lashley get the win. They destroy Finn Balor afterwards. They beat up Kurt Angle some more. There's been rumors that this WrestleMania will be Kurt Angle's official retirement, and the rumored opponent has been John Cena. So we'll see how that plays out after Fastlane this Sunday. Another angle that they've been running was, I don't know if you've caught this last week or if you watched Raw last week. Dave Bautista made his return to the company by, quote, attacking Ric Flair on his 70th birthday celebration. Well, tonight, Batista wasn't in Philadelphia where they had Raw. Instead, he went on Instagram, said he hated Philadelphia. He would never go there, and he doesn't really care much for Pittsburgh either, blah, blah, blah. Well, Triple H came down and did a promo And it was by far one of his better promos that I've seen him do in a long, long time. And I've watched this guy, you know, from when he first came into the WWE back in 1995. And he has just progressed so much that, you know, he's just one of the great ones. But this promo was just off the charts. He made it seem, he added that real feeling to it, that real emotion to it. And it's going to be interesting to see if they do pull go with the Triple H Batista match at WrestleMania this year. That's been a long rumor ever since SmackDown 1000 last October. Interesting to see Elias do the, walking the top rope and, jumping, he calls it the walk with Elias, where he walks across the top rope, kind of like The Undertaker. So I'm wondering if they're trying to set up an Elias versus Undertaker match at WrestleMania. I mean, Elias has nothing to lose there. I mean, he'd be in the ring with one of the, all-time great WrestleMania legends of, in The Undertaker. I mean, The Undertaker, his record at WrestleMania speaks for itself. He was 21-0 before, he lost to Brock Lesnar, which later was found to be Vince McMahon's idea the day of WrestleMania. And then he lost to Roman Reigns 2 years ago before coming back and completely annihilating John Cena at WrestleMania last year. But, it'll be interesting to see what they do with Taker this year, considering that he has removed all mention of WWE off his social media accounts. And he will be appearing at the StarCast 2 convention WrestleMania weekend. So be that as it may, we'll go from there. The tag team titles were up for grabs tonight. The Revival defending against the NXT team of Aleister Black and Ricochet. Chad Gable and Bobby Roode came out during the middle of the match and attacked the Revival, because there's no, quote, automatic rematch clause in WWE anymore. And so that got Ricochet and Aleister Black disqualified. So it wasn't that great of a match. And, we also had Natalya versus Ruby Riott. Natalya gets the win with a inside cradle. Wasn't too thrilled with this match. I mean, it just wasn't the same. And then, of course, we had the obligatory Lacey Evans walk out. And, the only time I've ever seen Lacey Evans wrestle was when I was at the Raw taping here in Portland a few weeks ago. She wrestled Natalya on the main event taping that they did, and she lost. But that was all I could, that's all I could say is about Lacey Evans. Of course, then there was Heavy Machinery, and if you haven't seen Heavy Machinery, they are two very, very large men in Otis and Tucker. Of course, Tucker is local boy here from Hubbard, Oregon. Otis is from Minnesota, but they complement each other so well. Tucker goes about 6'7", and Otis is he looks like a cannonball, but he's got so much energy, so much passion. And they did an angle tonight where the B team, the Ascension, and Zack Ryder and Kurt Hawkins were making fun of him backstage, and it hurt Otis's feelings, So they said they were going to defeat all three teams one at a time. So they had a gauntlet match. First off, they faced the B team, and they hit Bo Dallas with the compactor, their finishing move, to defeat the B team. And then the Ascension came in, and Otis hits a Vader bomb, as a nod to the late great Leon Vader White, to take out the Ascension. And then, of course, if you haven't seen Otis do this, it is highly, highly entertaining. He does a worm, but it's called the Caterpillar, and then he hits a elbow drop on his prone opponent, and he did that. And, Heavy Machinery ran the gauntlet, and they won the match. And of course, the next Hall of Fame inductee was announced today by ESPNW. Tori Wilson is the newest inductee into the WWE Hall of Fame class of 2019. She'll be inducted along with the Honky Tonk Man and the entire unit of D-Generation X. And when I say the entire unit, I'm talking Shawn Michaels, Triple H, Chyna, a person that many thought would never be inducted into the Hall of Fame, X-Pac, Sean Waltman, the Road Dogg, who's now an agent with WWE, Billy Gunn, who's now an agent with All Elite Wrestling. So the Hall of Fame, has some decent inductees and has some ones that make you scratch your head every year. I don't know what to think. I mean, I could think of way more deserving people than, that haven't been inducted, that against people that have been. Guys like Abdullah the Butcher, who never really wrestled in the WWF, WWE. Stan Hansen, he did wrestle in the WWF. He wrestled some high-profile matches with, Bruno Sammartino. Was credited with breaking Bruno's neck in 1976. But Coco Beware, I never really got that. He came in as a mid-carder back in 1987, right before WrestleMania 3. He just wasn't. And then he became a low card, jobber to the stars, is what they like to call him, until he formed a tag team with the late Owen Hart, known as High Energy, in the early 90s. But like I said, there's just been some questionable inductees. And another match we had tonight was Tamina versus Sasha Banks. It hasn't been a great build-up for the women's tag team title match for Fastlane, which has the Boss and Hug connection of Sasha and Bayley taking on the cousins, Tamina and Nia Jax. Last week, Jax lost to Bayley, so this week, Tamina beats Sasha. It's just not a good... hasn't been a good build-up, though it was kind of nice to see Bayley and Sasha on NXT this past week, even though it was taped a couple weeks ago. It was taped a couple weeks ago, and, they said they're going to defend them against all women's tag teams within the WWE corporate umbrella, basically. So that means Raw, SmackDown, NXT, NXT UK. So, the sky's the limit there. And, we had special guest stars, Michael Che and Colin Jost, from Saturday Night Live, the hosts of Weekend Edition. Che, he's a wrestling fan. I could tell by his interactions with some of the, with Titus O'Neil. Colin Jost, on the other hand, he seemed kind of, I don't know. At one point, he ran into Braun Strowman and asked Strowman if it was really real. So Strowman lifts him up by the neck and holds him. And they go to commercial, and you know how commercials are. They can be about 2 minutes, 2 seconds. and they come back from the